Normally, when I'm standing here in this spot doing a video, I'm doing things like this, and I'm talking about albums. Today, I don't want to talk about an album. Today, I want to talk about Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy died earlier today, and I'm going to talk about my history with Ozzy, a few other things. I have a tendency to go on and on about stupid things, but it's things that this is a big thing for me. And I was texting with a bunch of people today, and I was reading everything. I just really want to share a lot of things. So yeah, Ozzy died today, and just quickly, I guess I did a couple weeks ago this big back to the beginning farewell concert. Black Sabbath / Ozzy farewell concert was on July 5th. I did a 2-hour video talking about that. I think it was about a week or 7 or 8 days, 8 or 9 days after that. And I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I talked about Ozzy and how much I love him, because what happens often is you don't talk about that. And then when a person dies, it could be a celebrity or somebody in your real life, you never said how you felt. And then when the person dies, it's too late. So I'm glad that I did that video. And a quick programming note for this album, for this channel, for I Want to Talk About This album. I just did an Ozzy, a Black Sabbath episode yesterday that was going to be up. I have a queue. It was going to be, I think, the 4th in the queue. And these days I'm putting up two videos a week. This was going to be up in a couple of weeks. I will change that. I will put that up either tomorrow or maybe even later today. All right, or tonight. I don't know. And in that also, I talked about how much I love Ozzy. So I'm glad that I did that. I also shortly after that, back to the beginning farewell concert, I got my Ozzy tribute tattoos, and I'm more happy, just so happy that I got those tattoos, when he was still alive, rather than when he died. I did the same thing when my dad died. My dad, shortly before my dad died, I got a tattoo of my dad's, his initials, and on a big tattoo like this on my leg. And I got that before he died, and I'm very happy. I don't know if I can go back to show the tattoos, but it's Ozzy. He has these, I don't know, because I've got the camera in a different mode today. If you can see the happy face tattoos on the knee. So that's that was my little tribute to Ozzy. And again, I'm very happy that I did that. And I want to talk about Ozzy. I'm going to start by what happened, the way that I learned about it today. This is like, September 11th, when, everybody remembers what they were doing, or you're going to remember what you were doing 20 years from now. And it's going to be something that everybody is talking about. So this morning, like all days, like September 11th, every day starts as a normal day. It was a normal day today. And I was texting. I got a text from my good friend Monty, who I mentioned many times in that Black Sabbath Ozzy farewell back to the beginning concert video that I did a couple of weeks ago. And he texted me, said he was going to see Pantera tonight. He was very excited. He lives in Columbus, Ohio. I've known Monty for 22 years, I think, since around 2003. Online. We've met in person a couple times. We went to see Pearl Jam together in Cleveland in 2003. And went to see Pearl Jam together again in Phoenix a couple of years ago in 2022. So Kevin texted me, and I text with Kevin more than anybody. And he texted me, said he was going to see Pantera tonight. He was very excited. We talked about, they've added 3 or 4 songs to the set list. He said this is the 4th time he's seen Pantera on this go-round since they've come back together. I don't care what you think about Pantera. Keep it to yourself. And then I was out, I went out walking. I worked for a little bit in the morning. I was out walking. I'm moving into a new apartment. And this might be the last video that I do in this apartment. I think I might do one more, which will be a Black Sabbath video, I think. And I do have a couple more in the queue, but they were done a couple of weeks ago. So I was out walking. I had to go downtown. I wanted to get a haircut, which I never did get, because when I got there, the woman, it was her day off. She wasn't in today, so I didn't get my haircut. And also I got a watch fixed, a new battery put on my watch last week. at a place downtown and forgot my wallet, my money, my cards. I didn't have any money, so I said, "Oh man, I'm so sorry, but I've been getting my watches. I have a lot of watches. I get them done there." And they said, "Don't worry about it. Just pay whenever you come next time." So I went there today to pay them. And when I walk, I was listening to music, and I sometimes when I'm going to do the I Want to Talk About This Album episodes, I always listen to that album I'm going to talk about. But when I go walking for exercise on the other days when I'm not doing an episode, I just listen to whatever record I feel like listening to. And I've been in major Black Sabbath mode since this concert happened on July 5th, and Ozzy too. And I see a lot of people talking about Technical Ecstasy, and I didn't do an episode of Technical Ecstasy. One, I don't have it on vinyl. I do have the CD, and I never liked that record. Never liked it. But I've seen a lot of people talking about it since that concert, so I thought I'm going to give Technical Ecstasy another chance. So that's what I was listening to do today on my walk. And sometimes on my phone, sometimes I have notifications on, sometimes I turn them off, sometimes I don't really care about messages. But I had them on today because I was expecting another call, and I was walking also past or around my new apartment. I wanted to check a few things, see some things around the neighborhood. And as I got to about the last minute of Dirty Women, which is the last track of Technical Ecstasy, I have my notifications on. I got a notification, and often I don't check it right away, but I did, and I looked, and it was a message I could see in the preview. It was from my friend Monty, and it said, "Fuck," with lots of U's. F-U-U-U-U-U-U-U-C-K. And that was all it said. And I thought, maybe Pantera canceled, or maybe his car broke down. He's going to see Pantera in Cincinnati. Maybe, he was driving from Columbus. Maybe his car broke down or something. And then a few seconds later, so I put the phone back. And then a few seconds later, I was kind of anticipating he was going to explain what happened. Now, Kevin and I have this kind of a little bit of an ongoing dark joke that I can't remember if I gave him the nickname or if he bestowed it upon himself, but he is my personal angel of death when it comes to musicians dying. I found out about Dimebag dying from him because Kevin was at the concert when Dimebag died, or was killed, I guess it's more appropriate to say. That's how I found out about Dimebag, was through Monty. Chris Cornell, when Chris Cornell died, I woke up that morning with a message from Monty, telling me. And I can't remember who else, but he's told me quite a few people have died over the years. Not Lemmy. And so I could see in the preview of the next message, it said, "Sorry to say, but the angel of death is here to relay some sad news for you." And immediately I thought, it's Ozzy. It's Ozzy. And then this was very quickly, I was thinking, it can't be. That would be too obvious. And, he just did this big thing 17 days ago, I guess. And I thought, no, it can't be Ozzy. So, I guess it was maybe 30 seconds that I was like thinking who it was. And I was going, go, tell him, who is it? And then again, I saw it and it said, yeah, and he said Ozzy. Man, I was so sad. And I haven't liked Ozzy's music, his solo music. I haven't liked him. The last album that he did that I liked, and actually I really liked it a lot, was The Rest of the Wicked in 1988. I did, No More Tears was the last one that I bought. Never got into that record. I think I've mentioned that a few times. And then all the ones he did after that, I can't remember the order. They went Down to Earth, Black Rain, Ordinary Man, Osmosis. I know his last one was Patient Number 9. And I did an episode of I Want to Talk About This album. That album sucked. I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I didn't like that album at all. But yeah, so I haven't liked Ozzy's solo music for many, many years, even decades. But because of this concert, he's obviously been on my mind recently. And also, I've talked about this before, Ozzy is a major player in my life. Probably other than Kiss or anybody in Kiss. Ozzy is right below that for musicians who have been in my life, not just the longest, but had a big impact. I've mentioned many times that Ozzy was my first concert ever, and I've got my ticket stub here. So this was it from the Bark the Moon Tour, Wednesday, April 25th, 1984. That was my first concert. Rat opened that show. And and I've been a fan since I got, and I'm going to talk about this in the episode that I just did. That's going to come up either later today or tomorrow. It's the super deluxe version of Paranoid. And I got Paranoid, as far as I can remember, Paranoid was the first non-Kiss album that I ever had, at least for rock. I maybe had some kids albums or something like that, or I listened to some of my parents' music. I remember my sister had Rod Stewart, Blondes Have More Fun, but the first one that I remember having of my own that was real rock music after Kiss was Paranoid. And I think after that was Back in Black, and then very shortly after that was either Van Halen, Fair Warning, or Ozzy, Diary of a Madman. And then Ozzy, so I had a really, really strong, close association with Ozzy, sentimental attachment to him. And then him being my first concert. And Ozzy was one of these guys that truly, maybe it's because I got into him when I was a kid, I believed everything at the time, and even looking back on it, Ozzy was the real deal. He really was a fucking crazy guy, I think, especially back then. A lot of these guys have facades and, they're kind of fake. It's all for the cameras. I think Ozzy did have a really, really crazy life. And I think another thing that I always liked about Ozzy, even when I didn't like his music, he personally is a very, very, very lovable guy. I talked about this in the Back to the Beginning concert video that I did. He's a very likable guy. You never hear anybody say anything bad about Ozzy. You can say some bad things about his wife. She's done maybe some underhanded things. That's understandable. But Ozzy himself is just you never hear, I've over the years I've read and heard so many stories of people that have met Ozzy, had some kind of worked with him, had some kind of encounter with him. Nobody has anything bad to say about Ozzy. Very different than a lot of musicians. They're often not the nicest people, but Ozzy, by all accounts, was just a friendly, lovable guy. Loved people, loved being around people. And maybe a cliche, and everybody says this, how much they love their fans. They wouldn't be here without the fans. I've always felt that, and especially over the years, Ozzy really does truly feel that he loves his fans and really realizes that he owes everything to his fans. I did see Ozzy a couple times after this Bark of the Moon tour, the next two tours. I saw him on the Ultimate Sin tour. That was the night that Cliff Burton died. I saw Ozzy that night. That was in September 86. September 26th. Cliff Burton died on September 27th, but that was because Sweden is in a different time zone. And then I saw him on the No Rest for the Wicked tour, 1989. That was in the summer, July, I think, or August 1989 with White Lion and Vixen. That was the last time I saw Ozzy solo. I saw him with Black Sabbath a couple of times after that. He played here. I've lived in Mexico for 19 years. Ozzy, as far as I remember, came here twice. He came here in 2008 or 2009 at Foro Sol on, I think that was the Black Rain tour. Black Label Society, I think, was playing with him. He was playing at Foro Sol, the big stadium there where Iron Maiden was playing and Metallica plays, and that's where I saw Black Sabbath a couple of times. He was playing there, and at that time I had no interest in seeing Ozzy, and I don't really regret it. You do what is appropriate at the time, and at the time I didn't want to see Ozzy. So yeah, I missed him then in Mexico in 2008 or 2009. Then he did play again in 2018, and I had tickets to go see him, and I sold them. I didn't go. There was a 2-day festival called Hell in Heaven, and it was over the 2 days. I can't remember who was on what day. The headliners the first day were Deep Purple and Scorpions. Second day were Judas Priest and Ozzy. The other bands on different days, I can't remember, were Overkill, Testament, Marilyn Manson, Megadeth, Mastodon. It was a big festival. So I had a 2-day pass to that, and I went to the first day. Ozzy was playing the second day. Now, I'm a big Cadaver fan. I have 2 Cadaver tattoos. And so Cadaver was playing the first day, the non-Ozzy day. They made kind of a surprise announcement that the next day, the day of the second day of the festival, they were playing kind of a surprise secret show at a very, very small club called Caradura. And I wanted to go to that more than I wanted to see Ozzy or Judas Priest or Marilyn Manson or Megadeth, whoever was playing that night. And so I sold my ticket. I forfeited my ticket to go see it, and that was my last chance to see Ozzy and realistically, probably Judas Priest, although they just played her a couple months ago, but I didn't go. Yeah, so I have had chances to see Ozzy a couple of times over the years, but passed. And like I said, I don't really regret it. I did what I thought was right at the time. I guess going back, it would be nice to say that I saw Ozzy on his last show here, but I didn't. And amazing that this happened, just incredible timing. A lot of people are obviously going to draw almost immediately when this happened. I was thinking about all kinds of things that took, I had to put all the pieces of everything together. And for the first 2 hours or so after I heard this news, I was out and I wasn't really checking my phone or paying attention. I was texting with some people, and I was still texting with Monty, and I said to him, the first thing that people are going to say is how great it is that Ozzy kind of very, very similar. You can find a lot of parallels between Ozzy's death and Lemmy's death. They both died. Obviously, they died after their last show, but Lemmy played his last show. He died on December 28th, and his last show was, I think, December 15th or 16th, something like that. And everybody pretty much knew it was never billed as a farewell tour. Lemmy or Motorhead would never do that. But I think everybody knew his health had been declining, as was Ozzy's for quite a number of years. And then he died. And same thing with this. And except with Ozzy, you knew that was going to be his last show. I don't know if anybody, people love to play whenever a band plays the farewell card. Why can't I say the word farewell? Whenever any band plays the farewell tour card, there's always a group of people who say, they're going to come back. There's no way they're going to, stay retired or whatever. With Ozzy, it was pretty obvious. And although I'm sure there are people who did think that, no, he's going to come back. No. So, I think it's so amazing. I love so much that they'd made, and I mentioned how much I love that concert. Just the most incredible thing. It's even better now. Just the fact that I hope it's not bad to say this, the fact that Ozzy died so shortly after that concert, I think really adds a really special touch to that concert. It already was special, but I think it feels now much more poignant, if that's the word. And I know that's going to be out in theaters early next year. I guess they're putting it together. I don't know, they have a lot of legalities, I guess they have to put together before they can show it and maybe doctor some things. I'm sure this is going to change the tone of that movie. There's going to be a lot added to it. Maybe this will delay the movie. I'm okay with that. And I mentioned when I talked about this video a couple of weeks ago, and I do know that Ozzy had help singing. No doubt he had help, and I'm perfectly fine with that. The guy was 76 years old. He had been in very poor health for quite some time. He couldn't stand up. He still had pretty good energy. He was in great spirits. I'll say it again, how much I loved Ozzy's performance, both solo and with Black Sabbath at that Back to the Beginning concert a couple of weeks ago on July 5th. All right, so that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to get that out there about Ozzy, one of my favorite musicians, despite the fact that I wasn't into his music, his later music. I pretty much stopped with No Rest for the Wicked. But yeah, his death is very, very... I don't have a ranking of celebrity deaths of how hard they hit me or how much they affected me. Ozzy's pretty close to the top. I think maybe I just say I don't have a ranking, and I'm going to do it. Dimebag is maybe still number one, just because of the circumstances around it. And Lemmy was pretty hard too. Other than that, I don't know who else has died that hit me. The way that I felt when I found that Ozzy died, I thought everything changes now. It really, really is. Obviously, Black Sabbath music is going to last forever, and Ozzy's music and everybody's music. But this really, really really marks the end. And obviously it's very sad, but I think it's also kind of, I don't know if it's happy, but good for him. It's amazing. I'm so happy that Ozzy got to do his last show, and I guess his family, I would imagine, take great solace and in the fact that he was able to do it. Imagine if he had died 2 weeks before the concert, the day before the concert, or anything like that. How horrible that would have been. So great that Ozzy kind of went out when he did. And it's one of these things that it's shocking, but it's not surprising. You kind of knew it was coming. He's had horrible health issues even going back to 2003, he's had health issues. All right, so that's it. I think by the time this video is up, it's going to be, I'm going to put it up pretty much right away. I often do a video the day before, sometimes weeks in advance. This one I want to put up right away. I just want to get it out there that much. I want to get it out there how much that I love Ozzy, and I'm just very thankful that he played such a big role in my life. He in many ways really shaped my music, and maybe shaped a few other things too that I haven't mentioned. But I'm very, very happy that Ozzy lived as long as he did and had such a great life, and made my life much better. And if you're watching this, maybe he made your life better too. And it's always sad when musicians die, much more so today. That's all. Thank you for watching. Bye, Ozzy.